Is Trekland, and we are live. What are you thankful for, Star Trek? Today on Wow, episode 333 of Trekland Tuesdays Live, with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemeczek, coming at you here from the heart of Trekland, right through Portal 47, and yeah, Trekland Treks too, for some sanity, clarity, and a bigger picture in all things Star Trek. Hey, everybody. It's here in the States. It's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I'm finally back on a normal Tuesday again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And just a simple show today. I'm just in a really good mood for some reason. I mean, there's lots of stuff going on in the world, but I'm in a really good mood. For one thing, I'm going to challenge you with that question. So be thinking about it. But you know what? If you are new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, I want to welcome you aboard. We've got a wonderful chat room, a wonderful chat community. So make sure you've got your chat room open and running. This time of day, we are global. We've got folks from practically every continent. I don't think we've ever had anybody from Antarctica. Nick Murdo Station, where are you? They're not in yet, Little America. So we'll see. We'll see. You never know. But it's a great community. If you're new with us, please sound off and let everybody know where you're coming from, what's going on. And we've got tons of veterans and what's going on. You'll notice, though, if you are on Facebook, you're only going to see the Facebook. But if you're on YouTube or Twitch, you'll see everybody's comments, okay? And here is a shout out if you are watching us later on YouTube only and it's not live. Please feel free to go ahead and keep commenting on whatever it is we're talking about. And maybe sometime you can join us live at 1 p.m. Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, including 9 p.m. UK time and 10 p.m. Central Europe. And I'm not going to do the math for Australia and Japan, much less anywhere else. No, it's a good Tuesday. I'll just share this with you all. We just recorded the 250th episode of the Trek Files with a special guest that I'm not going to tease yet, but I'll just say he's a member of a very small club that gets a paycheck from CBS Paramount. So there's all that. That's cool. I'm also very hipped because last week, and this is what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for where Star Trek is at the moment. The world, maybe not so much. But if anything, we all know that the reason people first latched onto Star Trek in the 60s and still do today is because, thankfully, it gives us something to look forward to. It gives us something to hope for, to strive toward, right? And that was this. I had such a great time recording today. I'm so close to telling you who it was, but you'll see. You'll see. It's somebody who will bring a smile to your face. And that's a horrible tease and a vague explain, right? But our 250th episode will be up in the holiday week. They're in order. So we don't normally number by episode numbers. It's always by season. And we're in our 11th season. This week's Trek Files is up. It's some awesome historical bits and a look into the 70s fandom world. I'll just jump in on that now. I'm very thankful. For some reason, we are way ahead of the curve. We have half a season pre-recorded for the Trek Files for some reason. And it's nice, and it gives me a more ahead view. But I am thankful. I am thankful to our open house crowd. We had dozens of folks on hand with us last week. I know it's over. Nick was great. Nick Meyer was great as our guest. I think everybody had a great time. And more so than in recent years, we're going to have, well, the Portales already have their recording finally. But we're going to have, and everybody who was there has a recording link already. It's private now, but it's going to go public very soon. We had such a good hour with Nick, talked about some golden oldies, chestnut stories, maybe things you still haven't heard. And yes, we did get into his discovery experience and the status of the con, the con miniseries, not the status of the convention. And that's going to be public in a couple of days. So maybe it'll be here in the States, it'd be a nice Thanksgiving weekend present for everybody to see. If you're not in the States and celebrating Thanksgiving, take it anyway. But I was very thankful for the reaction of the community, those who came out. And, I still sense a lot of generational differences in fandom. I think it just reflects the culture at large. And if anything, Star Trek fandom is more united across the generations than, say, the culture at large. The only difference is where people are hanging out, right? So the grandmas are all on Facebook. Twitter was a lot of people, but it's dying since it's been X. We'll see what happens to that. Maybe something will halt the slide there. That's where most of my followers are. Instagram seems to be still holding on to its purity and innocence and just stability and rationality as a new meeting place. I used to say that nobody in sci-fi and Star Trek was on Instagram except for the cosplay models, pictures. But that's changing, and more people are going there. A lot of the celebrities, a lot of the creatives and actors are posting more on Instagram than on Facebook or Twitter, especially getting off Twitter. And it's a good place to follow them. I'm always preaching that you can follow. And during the strikes, it was a game changer and a sanity saver to keep up with them and watch the networking they were doing with each other. So it's still valuable. Instagram is still kind of there. I'm still not a TikTok person because I want to do more than 5 or 10 seconds in a punchline, but it's very much a thing out there. So generations hang out different places, but I still think in the big picture, there's nothing like Star Trek to really even overcome those boundaries and unite. And again, just good vibes, good feelings all around on the personal side. But, big picture, I don't know. What are you thankful for as we hit into this week, Star Trek? We don't have fresh Trek every week looking at us in the face for the next year. Somewhere between, the strike delays and just the shakedown of what's happening in streaming world. And I'm going to say this, a lot of people make fun of Paramount Plus. A lot of people ridicule it. A lot of people think it's on shaky ground. It might be and ripe for a buyout. Could be. But I'm going to say that talking to the writers, at least, that Paramount Plus was not the most egregious of those committing the things that had the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA up in arms over the strikes. Maybe that will be different. We're already back around to IATSE, which is all the different guilds, everybody from costumers and makeup down to the grips and lighting people. I mean, there's such a range of basically all the crews, everybody except the Teamster drivers who's involved beyond actors and writers and directors. They represent so many guilds, and they came this close to striking 2 years ago, and they're on a 3-year contract, but it's offset. And we'll also see in a couple of years the TAG, the Animation Guild, on their striving to get parity. The writers in TAG to get parity with the with the Writers Guild, or even to merge the writers segment in Animation Guild. And we're watching the unionization of finally a lot of more animation workers and a lot of visual effects workers who have been totally ununionized as those fields exploded and lent so much to modern entertainment quality. So we've had a huge awareness in labor relations, and part of that's been fueled by the proximity that we get from social media. Excuse me. And I know the negative effects of a lot of social media, the evil magnet effect of the algorithms. When we were unaware and they were unchecked. Now we are becoming aware, and we can pick and choose, and we'll see who emerges from the ashes of Twitter X's remains. Will everybody finally go to Blue Sky or Post or Threads or Mastodon or whatever? We'll see, but at least now we're savvy and know what's happening. And I'm thankful for that awareness. But what I'm trying to say here is I am thankful for the state of Star Trek today, even though we're not sitting here fat and sassy with fresh Trek every week for as far as the eye can see in the future. We will get what we're going to get. But I think we are a savvier and more aware fandom and industry. And I feel like in a weird way, the upside of socials is that our actors and our creatives are as connected with their fan base. And the fan base is as savvy as it's ever been. I mean, that was one of my goals the last 10 years. That's been one of my goals with with this show. That's one of my goals with Portal 47 is to instead of fans just feeling lost, they're just sheep in the flock. Go over here now, go over here now, go over here. It's not that way at conventions anymore. It's not that way when people aren't just being spoon fed. And I think so. As much as I worry about part of the audience out here being dumbed down a little bit, a big chunk of the audience is getting smarter. And I'm, again, even as maybe the last couple of years we've been so blessed to have so much, even if it wasn't your favorite Trek, at least it was out there and thought-provoking, and you had something to talk about. And even as that world keeps shifting, nobody's talking about Star Trek going away. No one's talking about it losing its seat at the big boy franchise table. And not that it's about keeping score, but all the other franchises aren't quite riding as high. They're not quite so fat and sassy. And not that I wish ill on anybody, and not that it's about keeping score, as I always say, but at least people are looking at Star Trek finally, maybe with the long-term eyes, with the long-term vision. It hits people. We're only 3 years away from the 60th anniversary, which is so scary. I remember the first time I realized the 50th was coming, and as scary as that felt. But here we are. We're only a year away from The Cage and its 60th anniversary. That awareness, I think, is seeping out among just us and getting out to the world at large. I think people are seeing not only the longevity of Trek, but what the appeal is. And as we keep having somewhere between the pandemic and the reignition of racial reawakening and the gender spectrum, all these issues that make some people uncomfortable, not the issue, but the fact that there's a revolution around it. It's just people who haven't had a voice, or people who thought they were climbing out of the hole and only were allowed out halfway, but whatever. Star Trek will always have... Star Trek's been woke since the 60s. I know. Who made you think about diversity if it wasn't the Vulcans in the 60s? Infinite diversity, infinite combinations. It did it a disservice to call it IDIC all those years. We kind of dumbed down what the D meant. But we are so far from Gene's vision, trademark, but we've still got the show and the franchise, and don't let anybody tell you what it does and doesn't represent. You know what it does. And yes, it's a hell of a lot of fun as a storytelling vehicle, as a universe to play in, to be tech cool and tech geek. On top of everything else, aside from being a hopeful vision of future for those who might be marginalized, for those who despair about the situation of their community or the state of the world vis-a-vis war and famine and disease, what should I say here? Fascism, the thing that Edith Keeler spoke about in the 60s. As much as all that anymore, just the idea of rationality itself. And we made fun of, it was the fun Spock, logic versus emotion, Spock McCoy, and on down the line. But even rationality has come to be a precious thing that Star Trek can help lead the fight in there. Put whoever your favorite Vulcan is at the moment. I'm waiting for T'Lyn to take the banner and run with it. No, it feels, even without fresh Trek every week, that Star Trek is really with us for the long haul. And as much as it's there to greet new fans. Oh, and here's the other thing. I'm thankful that even as we look at a thinner palette ahead, we've got Prodigy landed back again. And so now Prodigy can maybe finally fulfill the vision that the Hageman brothers, that Aaron Walke, that their entire team that got handed horrible handling there with I know it wasn't partly the network's fault. Partly they were jugged around while Discovery was having COVID reaction issues. But the bottom line is that they've never had a really smooth, big, humongous promotion rollout for more than 5 or 10 seconds, it feels like. So yeah, as Lower Decks worms itself into your heart and the mundane, the cynical among us, and as Prodigy gets to kids and families, and hey, singles without kids, you are more than welcome. You're welcome. And yes, Discovery, I still think in about 20 years, 10 or 20 years, we're going to wake up and all the naysayers of Discovery, and I've got creative issues, and part of it's not its fault. It's just the way it was born. And the first one out of the gate takes a lot of slings and arrows just on a production side. And having said all that, Discovery has reinvented itself so much over the years. But I really think the silent value of Discovery is still out there. And we won't hear about it for 20 years. The same way that a whole generation of little girls grew up watching Janeway and B'Elanna and Seven. And it was a silent generation until it blossomed. And a silent generation of people appreciated DS9. And we didn't know about it until we got Netflix and streaming and the world woke up to it. I still think, and I'm the one that I'll say Discovery's been my least favorite, not because I didn't want two women of color being the leads, but I just think it had the worst birthing situation. That was nobody's fault. It's just the way it happened. There's always that. The first 2 years of TNG, yeesh, only the shining light of Star Trek gave us finally, the gems that we got from the first couple of years. So I don't know. It's there. Star Trek is out there in more accessible ways. And yeah, I'm excited for Prodigy to be on Netflix. The same way I was excited for Prodigy to be on Nickelodeon in the beginning and was hoping that would be an access port for Star Trek for kids that otherwise wouldn't be subscribing to CBS All Access / Paramount Plus. Well, now we'll have a Star Trek on Netflix, and kids may creep over to that. It's off the page. Well, Netflix is paid, but you know what I mean. So I am thankful for Prodigy not only being grounded with a home, but being grounded in a place where more eyeballs will come to it, and hopefully to the rest of Star Trek. And if people are missing something, and not that Star Trek should be a therapist, but it's been a therapist for an awful lot of people over the years. It's been a friend when people needed a friend. As well as being the bond that brought friends together. And I am thankful that maybe without this flurry, sometimes you would look at the 90s and think, wow, look how big Star Trek is. It's got 2 series and movies. But there were times in our capacity in the 90s before we could multi-stream, before we could binge, before we multitasked, and people weren't used to even baby step serialization as DS9 had. People were overwhelmed and confused. And when we'd gone along on a one at a time, the TOS model into TNG, having 2 series on the time not only was overwhelming to people, but it split the audience. And people kind of went one way or the other, or they went away. And we are past that. We live in the culture helps with that now. But we're in an age where not only will somebody make more Star Trek, but we can take it. And we're also in an age when we can see any past or present Star Trek. Start to say future Star Trek. If we can see future Star Trek, that would be awesome. Not quite there yet, though. Yeah, where's Professor Rasmussen when you need him? Yeah, I'm thankful for all that to say that even if without Fresh Trek every week, maybe this is the time to take a breather, to take a pause, know what's coming, appreciate the system that delivers it to us, be much more aware of that system, thanks to all the exposure of the strikes and the labor deals and negotiating that went on, with pieces still yet to be uncovered, or experimental ways of doing payments and protecting AI that we'll all be watching for, but at least we'll be on top of it and expecting to see what happens and watching where people make mid-course corrections. No longer can the producers sit back and play, oh, the Hollywood elites, you don't care what these people are doing, move along. We're past that. And this closeness of over the digital divide, or the digital union actually, has had a lot to do with that. And my God, if you told me that of all people, it would be the Hollywood elites, the writers and the actors, especially the writers, taking the first step there, who were going to kind of quasi kick off a long time overdue labor reckoning. We've got 40 years of pay divide. The productivity of, at least in the United States, it's not been reflected in worker pay because it all went up instead of being distributed evenly by those who earned in the share of the success. So anyway, we are a lot savvier for that, having gotten through the exposures of the pandemic and now the reckonings of labor 2023. And we're smarter for that. And hopefully we will, as things calm down, have, a smarter, savvier. It seems weird. Maybe is it first world problems to talk about our entertainment media delivery system? And yet when that's so much part of the culture, when that's shaping people's thoughts and feelings and perspectives, that translates into politics, which translates into everything, how you get your food, how you do or don't pollute the planet. So sorry to go wide here on you, but that's, we're coming down to the end of the year and it's the holidays and people are going to do some reflecting. I hope they do. And even though it feels like it's a quiet time in Trek right now, and on one glance, I'm like, what's the topic going to be this week? It's a sop to Thanksgiving. I can say here in the States, I can say, what are we thankful for? But it's a good, I guess maybe the last few years with the pandemic and the lockdowns and things, I have felt a little more thoughtful about such aspects. What I'm also really thankful for is that on top of all of that and a little bit of slowdowns, we still had the big Comic-Cons happened and I got to San Diego. We still had Trek Vegas, obviously. East Coast cons are happening. I'm still thankful that I'm getting as far east as I'm getting into the Eastern time zone. I'm thankful to looking forward to being back at Starbase Indy again this weekend. Not Thursday, not Thanksgiving Thursday here in the States, but Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So it's my first visit back since 2016. Boom. And because of the time zone craziness, it'll be late. It'll be 4 or 5 p.m. Friday when I get there. So I'll miss a lot of the Friday activity until we get to the evening. But I'm looking forward to being in Indy this weekend. If you're in the whole Great Lakes, Lower Lakes, Ohio Valley area, it's a good place to drain. I know we've got people, I think, in Portal. I know we've got some folks that are watching fairly regularly here. I don't know who all might be making it over, but it'll be awesome to see anybody in the greater Indy fan base there, even into, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky, that whole area. So I'm excited to be out with fans again for the first time since I didn't make Salt Lake City this year. So it's the first time since Vegas that we get to mix. And a lot has happened. We've settled strikes. We've seen what the landscape looks like coming up for the next year. It'll be good to take the pulse again, share as much as I can, bring a lot of Trekland goodness, with Portal and with Trekland Treks, and just see what's on everybody's mind. I love having the interaction we do here, but there's nothing like face-to-face, as you all know. Anyway, so yeah, I'm thankful for a lot of things, and some things to be thankful for that I didn't even stop to think about until I sat down to put some notes together last night for this, and even as we've been sitting here chatting and talking. So I don't know, what about you? What are you thankful for in and around your fandom? I mean, I guess I would say in real life as well, but in a shaky world the last couple of years, we're all still standing. Now, I know we've all had we've lost folks that we knew. The economic situations can tend to be up and down. I am blessed and thankful that my businesses that I started 10 years ago to try to entrepreneur my way back into a world of Trek that was a little dicey. And then lo and behold, here came new shows. But I'm very thankful for everybody in Portal and everybody who's considered or has taken a Trekland Trek or any other part of our business that I'm doing here that pays my bills, but hopefully bringing some value and worth to the world, and then have it on a spectrum where we can do this every week for free. And Second Opinion and Cadet Alice and the Trek Files and all the shows like that and our live specials, that somehow we can make that as a picture that fits, and with my projects that need to be finished too. So thankful for all of that support. Thankful for all of you for who come in here every Tuesday or try to. And some of you doing it from around the world, sometimes with wacky Wi-Fi, in a world that's hasn't been especially pleasant the last few weeks here. Again, we expose all kinds of cracks in the world, and hopefully, if there's a silver lining to anything, as we did getting through the pandemic, if there's a silver lining to just be aware, not to be the deer in the headlights. I hate being a deer in the headlights. I hate being blindsided. So if nothing else, when we know what's out there, we can deal with it in a better way. And hopefully, not looking at everything as a binary choice. And I'm going to talk about gender issues. I'm talking about the issues we have to deal with. And sometimes some things may seem complicated, but they're not really. They're just not as simple as we want to make them out to be, or as somebody else would have you think it was. So yeah, I've thought more about thankfulness the last few years. Maybe that was a pandemic thing. I don't know. Taking things for granted. And I am. So thankful to all you all this week who are watching, and everybody who watches later on YouTube. Will be thankful for everybody who I'll get to see this weekend. And thankful for all of you that joined us here all across Trekland. Good deal. Thanks so much. So hang on. We're going to take a quick break here. I'm not even going to look with trying to look at TV Geek numbers for the Parrot Analytics this week. We will dive into our live chat here in a minute. But if you're leaving us on YouTube right now, just to say that I'm glad you spent some time, glad you found us. Please comment below, even though you're not the live chat. If you just found us, comment below and try to join us again live on our Tuesdays when we're all here together around the world globally and talking Trek. And hopefully I can connect some dots that maybe you hadn't thought to connect. All right. So until next time, just a reminder, speaking of a dot you can connect, if you're ever in LA and want to take your own away mission, there's a lot of living experiential Star Trek you can do besides visit the awesome set tours, right? Upstate New York. You can go out and see your own away mission, and I will be thrilled to take you if you look up treklandtreks.com. Check that out. We'll work it. I'll be your concierge. Handhold you where you don't have to worry about a thing, okay? And I'm also very thankful, obviously, for all of our Patreons. Thank you guys and gals so much. Very simple one that I have, but every week I got to do it. And I especially want to thank this week our TTL Club. That's Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous, Glinda Bruton. Sorry, I just dropped something. Hey, Chris Jiggins, Pranakasha Productions, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Zazemski. And yes, our live wires, our $10, our big whooping $10 level. I keep it simple, I told you. But thanks to everybody there, the live wires, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Halborn Gunnjonson, Alan Hohenzi, Dave Gregory, Tobias Rex, Donna S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. I say that we're here at the end of the month. If you want to jump in, you can still get in this week and help me out. We're gradually spreading the Trekland channel here. $5 and $10 is all it is at patreon.com/TreklandLive. I need to get, as we get here to the end of the year, I need to get another batch of early day Portal 47 creative guest interviews out. Air out the thing. And yeah, we are back with our 11th season with the Trek Files, actual documents from Gene Roddenberry's archives. We talk about it with a professional guest or someone related, and that's what we're doing now. The head of William Shatner's Letter Exchange fan club, pre-internet, social contact. Love to see what that looked like. Keep it alive and reflect on today. Luann Fortier ran that for several years. It's for William Shatner, but it also was a very important news hub that Susan Sackett and everybody at Paramount knew, different people's individual agents knew to proliferate. So, but in the days before, everything socials, everything, message boards even, the fan clubs were not just a celebratory mechanism, but they were also a way that they got the news out. And even faster than the gossip mill at con live meetups. Anyway, Trek Files is where it always is, wherever you catch your podcasts. Of course, we've got the actual documents we talk about are at our Facebook page there. Hey, YouTubers, before you leave, I'm on Twitter still, LarryNemechek.com or X, whatever you want to call it. Larry Nemechek's Trekland is the Facebook, is the Instagram. And if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Even if you're not right now on YouTube, go over and subscribe. It would be great. And yeah, Portal 47. Going to be talking about it this weekend. If you're on my list, we're going to be having a Cyber Monday going into the holiday gift sale there too as well. Always try to offer some special at holiday. We've had a lot of members just join from the open house special. I can't wait. It's always good to see fresh bodies. It's always good to have our veterans too. And again, a lot of them are here in the chat today. So again, something that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for that. The thing that it brings me passion and joy, I was able to actually create as a business and present that, and other people find enough value and worth in it. The challenge is figuring out what are the things that I'm not thinking about that we can serve with people. That's where the location tours came from. When you're sitting here with all the information about, Vasquez Rocks is easy. It's awesome, but that's an easy one. It's the obscure places, and to be able to say, I have the whole gamut from the Berman years. And now from Picard. All those Canadian sites will work on that. But anyway, that's it, gang. Try to join me live if you can, if you're watching later. I'll just say, as always, stay healthy, do all the things, stay woke, check your sources. It's going to get worse and worse, crazier and crazier on the fake, on the fake stuff. Fake IDs, fake bots, all the whole thing. What am I saying? Oh, I'm saying, Trek well. Alrighty, everybody. Not even going to worry about the parrots or whatever form they're being licensed and sold to. We're in a fallow time. The peak of Lower Decks' finale is already down, and it's going back into the realm of the animation. But it's exciting to think about being on their way. Let's see what everybody's thinking. Did I stir anything up? I hope we're having a strong signal. How is everybody? I am now backtracking for all of you keeping score at home. I'm now backtracking on the chat. We'll go back and back scroll. Oh, okay, Dan, you're grateful for the mail service. Yeah. Very good. I think is McMurdo Station the original? Little America was Admiral Byrd's first. Maybe I'm crossing fiction and fact. But not from Stargate. I would not know it from Stargate. Don't shoot me. But I saw the Stargate movie and a couple of the series, and then never. I had too much in my brain to keep up with Star Trek on a crazy level. There you go, Duralta. Thankful for Star Trek in general, and without Trek, you'd not be the man you are today. Well, I wonder if I would be married to who I am today and the family all these years if it hadn't been for Star Trek. Thank you, David. Dr. Dave, it was a fun one. And thank you for coming up with the science update on the fly, the way we would do in our normal Ask Dr. Trek roundtables of the portal. You did that very well on the fly, and I'm glad I saw it and threw it in there. But at the point of our open house every year, gang, is to give you a taste of the live events. There's more than the live events, but those are kind of the apex of the monthly package. And the guest gets all the attention. So I try to always say, here's a little bit about what the roundtable feels like. But then, of course, between the science news and talking about the Trek headlines and the media headlines, and seeing what people want to talk about, that could be hard to communicate to people, even though it's so simple. But thank you back, Dave. Let's see. Hey, Don. Thankful for the Star Trek multiverse, even though I don't have anything against those who despise modern Star Trek, nor those who prefer the original series only. I know. It's like, because you never know. It was really weird. Even as Enterprise was sinking in the ratings from a lot of people having peeled off through DS9 and Voyager, there was a lot of hemorrhaging of the fan base. And then Enterprise started and it had a big splash. And then they had some, the first year or two had its thin spots and a lot of people. But what was weird was a lot of the people who had been original series fans and went away with TNG came back to Enterprise. That was like, I never was able to study it and quantify it and get, actual numbers. But that would be something, I mean, and the years have gone by now. How can you go back and retrace that? But there was definitely anecdotal sense I had in talking to people that a lot of people who went away when TNG came and the original movies died off, that they came back for Enterprise because which kind of makes sense. I don't know. It was interesting. It was an interesting bit. So you never know. After 30 years of watching Star Trek fans, I never presume to guess anything. Let's see. There you go, Dan. Thankful for being able to get preview episodes and novels and comics and review. Right. Be a reviewer. And for Trekland Tuesdays, like, well, thank you, Dan. It's very nice of you to say. There you go. Doralta, had you not seen Prodigy at all? And I'm not sure what your viewing history has been where you are. Obviously, Germany, right? Germany, not Austria or Switzerland. But anyway, in the GSA, it's been, I know, a hopscotch affair to try to see Prodigy, even more than it was in the States. But if you're just seeing them for the first time, enjoy. They start off very Star Warsy animated but then after the second or third episode, you go, oh, and the pace picks up. I guess they're introducing so much exposition in the beginning. I was amazed by the end of season 1 how much faster the pacing seemed to be than say second and third episodes. Hey, Christoph, I'm just following the demo. That's all. I'm just saying that the kids leave Facebook because it's perceived as the old folks' social media, which is hysterical to me. But I would, if you want people to sign up to be your non-existent grandchildren, I'll do it. Hey, JRR24, have you been with us before, or is this a new YouTube handle? Either way, welcome, and bonjour. I wish I could do a little Justin Wilson here and go Cajun on you, but I'm not going to butcher it too much. Just remember those onions. Hey, Michael. Interesting question. Notice how Nick has started to mellow a bit. Nick Meyer, you're talking about. Still acerbic and sharp as ever, but maybe finally feeling a little more nostalgic and less cynical about his Trek legacy. Well, yeah, and that's what I was trying to get to with him. When you all see those of you who weren't there live will see that I've seen him talking more, and it used to just be somebody would have a screening of Wrath of Khan or Star Trek 6, and they'd get him out to talk, and there'd be an after. But with the rise of of online world interviews and podcasts and all that demand, he wants to make sure he's not walking into a minefield or somebody who's totally inept interviewer. But I think he's just like many actors. He's made peace with the fact that, and here's the other thing, he's still writing his Sherlock Holmes books. So he's got that itch to scratch. It's not like he's sitting at home. Nobody ever his brain doesn't work unless someone's talking to him about Star Trek. He's got other interests and other pursuits. So there is that. And yeah, it does feel. And I kidded him about it once or twice in that night. And I think that may be what you're referring to. And he still has his funny little mannerisms when he wants to put a punctuation mark on something, and he'll say something and then go. He will physically go, and jut his head. Anyway, it was cute. It was cute. Watching it again was like, oh, that's right. Hadn't seen him. Well, we had a brunch, got together in brunch to kind of set this up. I sprung it on him and asked him if he would do it. And we talked a little bit about it, but I didn't want to unfreshen anything. Didn't I say blue sky? I thought I did say blue sky, Gerald. But yes, absolutely. Hey, Dave, you are thankful for the resolution of the SAG-AFTRA and WA strikes. Yes, it was a heavy summer, but also plenty to learn about what they went through. Exactly. Of course, that was through the perspective of differences in contract, but you learned an awful lot about the biz. And a lot of it, we all learned together because the whole streaming model is so new. It hadn't been around since Lucy Desi in the 60s double strikes. The way residuals, or watching how VHS tapes and then DVDs were handled. The whole streaming model is so new. We all learned a lot, including their memberships, and it's their livelihood, They, on one hand, the companies, the tech producer studios bragging about how much they're making, and on the other hand, saying they could, and it was so commonsensical that average Joe Q Public got it pretty easily. Jane Q Public? Yeah, it was talk about a teachable moment and a learning experience. Yay. I think Star Trek will survive. Well, very true, Dan. And I know you, like everybody, have had your share of rough patches. That's the thing to always be mindful of, hopefully, that we all figure out our rough patches. And we've got folks around to help us get through it, right? Zaire. Phrases like fat and sassy. Okay. Well, you're welcome. And I guess we co-orbited thanks to Ali and Life Support Live. But anyway, you're welcome for whatever little I can contribute to that. There you go. Hey, Sean. Okay, sure. Be thankful for Doctor Who coming back after being in the doldrums for years. Okay. Trek doesn't need to regenerate in the same way. They can just change shows when it gets stale. Oh, just like that. It's that simple, huh? Yeah. Look, I've envied Doctor Who's basic formula for years. When it's time to make a change, it just changes. And the TARDIS set just changes. Nobody's worried about 60s versus, 2010s design or recasting actors and all of that. Yes. Oh, very nice, Dave. You're thankful for Aaron Walke from STLV and Portal 47 Meet through his appearances on various Star Trek podcasts and YouTube. Him being accessible and giving insights into the Prodigy production have been great. Yes. Yeah. And he came up to me. I think the first time we met was at the Chicago mission, the Mission Chicago, and he appreciated Cadet Alice and brought the Hagemans over, and just such a sweet guy, nice guy. And I mean that in the best way, and cares so much about Star Trek and had a career before Star Trek. So it's not like he's hanging on to Star Trek for his livelihood. He's done others. Thank you very much. And it's so sweet to watch he and his wife have their first little one this year in the middle of a strike. But for him to get it and be such a fan, for us to have fans, and like Mike at Lower Decks too, and up and down all the shows. That early day bit was so unfair with Discovery. That's one thing. There were tons of fans working on Discovery. They're not all the bosses. Sometimes they have to percolate upward, but just like happened over the run of the Berman era, eventually people grew up and got old enough to have writing careers, be professional. We watched baby Ron Moore grow up and bring his fandom, same way Renee Echevarria. Ira was a little more established, but still came with that. To watch the professional fans assert themselves and reach into the niches where finally they had the keys and they were making the decisions. And we've jump-started that with the current crop of shows now. So many of them come in with their Trek like that. And that's what people can't help but magnetize to. But Aaron's great. Aaron's great. I was going to get him a Cadet Alice t-shirt, and then one day he hops up on socials and says, well, look what I got. And I was like, I was going to give you one, but he went out and got one. That reminds me, I have to post some Cadet Alice. I have some in the can that I need to get up. The whole delayed, what will the future be thing kind of put us in, and the strike ending kind of put us into slow-mo, but I need to get back and start releasing those. I got nothing against liberal and conservative Star Trek fans. What's funny to me is that those definitions change country by country. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in our boxes. If people are attracted to Star Trek and I know there's the common theories about why we have such a political divide when people call themselves Star Trek fans, but still, anytime you have a commonality, that's where you start. That's where you start. My God, if we're going to finally get the madness going on the Israeli-Palestinian border, if we're going to get some of this back down to a semblance and get a peace process back on track, part of the problem here is things got cushy and off the rails 20 years ago. And the wrong people wound up with the reins of power who weren't interested ultimately in peace because you have a side agenda, which is usually what happens. What the vast majority of people what Will Rogers would have called the big normal majority, what their common sense thrust is about when it's able to be sidelined. Prodigy's a cool show, and the giant rock girl is cute. I believe you're talking about what now? I'm looking forward to the Doctor. Oh, okay, another Doctor Who fan vote here. It was great to see things you're thankful for, Don. Great to see a Nemesis Enterprise E in season 1 of Prodigy. Post Nemesis Enterprise E. There you go. I take it this is a contemporary article. A website called The Agony Booth, and an article concerning Enterprise, and they said, now we see the show is okay. Look, there was in the early days of socials, Facebook and Twitter, like 07, 08, there arose, and the rise of Netflix and people being able to binge all the later shows that a lot of people had ignored, especially DS9, but Voyager and Enterprise also. And there was a campaign for a 5th season of Enterprise, and reuniting all the cast and using CG to build the sets cheaper. Anyway, and Doug Drexler jumped in the middle of that and was all about it and wanting to update the ship and his theoretical design growth lineage. And he had a line that I will always love. He said, you know what? We have so many new Star Trek Enterprise fans. There are so many new fans that don't even know they're supposed to hate the show. And I always love that. It's kind of the idiocy of getting locked into your time capsule and your perspective. Your blinders are on and you're not paying attention to how the world is changing, much less how your own perspective changes as you move through life. Yeah. Okay. Now doesn't do Enterprise lots of favors. You should have watched it back in the day. Well, was the sense that it was a writer who could have, or it was somebody who only just now came to it and they heard about the old? Because you could basically say it about almost all the series. Very nice, Christoph. Sure, we'll put this out here. Pop Culture Hero Coalition, which is Chase's founded group, right? Started off to fight bullying and all about respect and diversity. And now you can guess what all their interests would lie in. Thankful for 698 euros, 761 US dollars, or 607 pounds, that your Austrian fan club Galactic Friendship collected at the Vienna Comic Con last weekend. Austrian fans were thankful Frakes didn't cancel. There you go. Yeah, they don't call him no takes Frakes. They call him one takes Frakes. Wait, what? Okay. Well, here's the thing, Dan. This word serial, when I say serialized, I feel like we're talking about storyline, from one week to the next. If you miss a chapter, you've missed out. TNG had what all Star Trek had always had. Well, the original series kind of did. They baby played at it a little bit, but there's a difference to me between being a serialized story, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and running arcs, character arcs, or even like political arcs, like what was going on with the Klingon Empire, this, the Duras, all of that. What was happening with the Cardassians when they were fascist, and then they had the uprising and the people. Then Dukat came in and got them aligned with the Dominion, and then and even the shows, even Strange New World, which is standalone episodes, but there's running arcs, but they're character arcs and maybe political arcs too. I can draw a distinction between running arcs and heavily serialized, and that's what I think. Oh, definitely. The whole thing with Worf being dishonored and just trying to find his parents and his, all Worf saga, and then it bled over into DS9. Yeah. Let's see. Hey, Diana. It's good to see you briefly last week, too. There you go, Melanie. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it? Thankful for all of them sharing their time and trying. Yeah. A lot of extra. That was another silver lining of the strikes, was a lot of people had time to share, even as they weren't mentioning their struck shows. But just, if they're talking about the process, I mean, fine, sure, take my job away from me. Presenting those folks. Let's see. Well, now they notice the show was good, talking about Enterprise. I know, but you know what? Better late than never. Better late than never. You can't let that eat you up. You should, Dave. You are thankful that you have a good Star Trek fan club here and there in Phoenix with good people who enjoy getting together twice a month, talk Trek, and do fun stuff. And I know that in the last 2 or 3 years, the UFP there in Phoenix has had kind of a rebirth and a refreshing. And I'm glad you've been such a big part of that, and the whole Phoenix community, as well as the American, as well as our Portals community, loves having you aboard, Dave. You do so much good and so much real science. Doing the real thing in the real world is great too, science officer. Hey, JR. You're going to be talking about me? Oh, you're going to embarrass me now. I didn't get to that many cons this year. Just SoonerCon, Vegas, and SoonerCon in San Diego. And what else? Earlier in the year? Last year was a big travel year. Okay. You're going to embarrass me now. Hi, David. Glad you could jump in and be here with us. What are you saying, Dave? Overall, thank you. Aw. T-tailers and the friends in the various groups have been a source of Trek conversation, info, positivity, and friendship. It's been a lifeline in some ways, especially over the last few years. Well, amen. Amen to that. When you grew up in old school fandom and it was all face to face, unless you wrote to people, I guess the first experience I had with viral fandom was getting Interstat every month and reading the crazy range of opinions and seeing occasionally people I'm sorry, the middle-aged female fans occasionally get really and bang heads, only it would be in print, typed on paper. And there would be one or two who were real lightning rods, and you'd have one or two whose personality didn't seem to be stellar. They were very passionate about what they thought. I can't believe, like, what are they just, is this how they get their jollies? You know, just burning up all this energy, picking enemies. And did they really love Star Trek and Spock and Vulcans and things that much that anyway, it was, in a way, it wasn't just some wacky, local. It's like, well, this is kind of a microcosm of all of fandom, and that's just humanity. That's just, we love to talk about diversity, and that's part of the diversity. It's just, you're just going to get into that. But yes, we can pick our chosen families and our chosen fandoms and our chosen slices of fandoms. And I would hope that everything that I'm putting out, I never stopped to think about it. And we were about 2 or 3 years into Portal 47, and some of the Portales started when things got really bad. 2017, 2018, when things were really, the toxic tubers were reigning supreme and getting 1.5 million views. And I'm like, what? These people are wacko. They don't know what they're talking about. And they're hateful and snotty. And what is up with this? And I was really worried at the beginning because I wasn't YouTubing. I was doing my stuff behind a paywall, or we were podcasting, but I was like, the camera video gets way more attention than just audio. And I was like, what is happening are we just going to go off a cliff together? And thankfully that all finally started to right itself. But yeah, I think the first year I had the first year we did Tuesdays Live, Trekland Tuesdays Live, I had an episode that I called Who Mocks the Mockers? And I will always remember that one because I wanted to finally say something about all these idiots that were, I mean, it's easy to say these idiots and, well, you're just as judgmental as they are. It's like, well, no, it's like, look, we can factually talk about what they're saying, and all the fake conspiracy stuff and the whole conspiracy thing about CBS and Paramount and the movie versus the TV and the lies, and the whole Alex Kurtzman's being secretly fired every 2 weeks and all the crazy. That was crazy. That'll be an aspect of fandom that people will be talking about for ages. So you're welcome from my side, and I share what you're saying. I never thought about having to have safe spaces or having welcoming areas. I took it for granted, and if it was something, you walked into something that was obviously toxic or stupid, it's like, well, then leave it. And some people get sucked in and don't, I guess, walk away that easily. So yeah, I'm really not trying to flash that constantly. Oh no, Dan. Great, the pandemic. I mean, we do still have outbreaks of, I've constantly, sorry guys, something in my eye here. I am constantly hearing about folks having COVID again or for the first time, not as a killer, but annoying, and people still wondering about long-term effects. But yes. Oh, wow, David. Thankful to have people rejoin your Star Trek fandom page since your old one vanished. Well, if you want to put it in here, feel free. If you want to, is it like a Facebook group or something? Whatever it is, feel free to put the link in here in our chat and share it. Well, there you go. I mean, we went through hell here the last 3 or 4 years, a once a century hell, and not of the World War variety. Oh, thankful that the classic Trek movies are being re-released. Yep. So Don, pretty much everything. Is that what you're saying? Absolutely. Well, there you go. However you choose to perceive that, and hopefully we will always have the freedom to do so. Trek Pride Worldwide. Yeah, Melanie Jean. And some of them are on with us right now. Oh, William, well, it's good to meet you too. Every time I get back to good old Oklahoma and SoonerCon. Hey, Analysis. What you are thankful for with Star Trek having neurodivergence coded characters like Barclay, Tilly, Data, Dr. Bashir, and more. There you go. Even before we had the word for it, which Star Trek is always pioneering something before the show itself and the business and the fandom around it. My God, Star Trek fandom totally invented what modern fandoms look like. Okay, you're going to spell it out, Dan? Thankful for Discovery Season 5 and Prodigy Season 2. Some upcoming productions too. Although 31 and Academy are going to be 2025 before you see them. Yeah. And knowing the existence of fellow fans are out there. Yay. Yeah. Thank you, Don. You know, the eating part tends to be less indulgent as you know, family is spread out all over and everybody's doing their own thing. It's not like when I was a kid and living among, I don't know, 100 family members combined, both sides. A real live question, Zahir. Am I thankful for your questions? Why, of course. It's been fun to have you in my orbit since life support, right? I think. Dan Leckie, do I have any memories of having met John Freeman? Oh, yeah. The first time I was in the UK was for the Generations 1 convention to cover it for the Communicator. And they were 4 issues into the UK Titan magazine, Star Trek magazine. And I met John Freeman, and that's where I started my connection with Titan magazines. Before they were the US magazine, they were only the UK magazine. And they weren't the official UK, they were just a magazine. No, they were licensed. But I had been writing in the UK Star Trek magazine since issue 5, and they just redid the numbering after hundreds and hundreds. But yeah, I've been writing with them since 95, and for a couple of years I did real-time bits, and then I started doing my column 97, 98, which is kind of amazing. But what's amazing to me is John Freeman was there, and then I felt like the Queen with Prime Minister. Like all these editors over the years, every 2 or 3 years, the editor would change, people burn out or they moved on. And it came back around to John again. So, yeah. I think we've met live once again, maybe somewhere else, but if nothing else, I remember the time in early 95 with the premiere of Generations in London in the UK. Any word on more Orville? I'm hearing whispers. I'm not in their orbit. I'm not hearing. There's people I could call and ask. I see it come and go. I think there's a perception that the longer there's no word, that's not good, which is true of anything. The longer, if you're worrying on something on the bubble, the longer the bubbles only expand for so long. So no, not up front. Can I move on here? How can I get rid of this? Can I get rid of this? Let's see. Thank you. Zahir, who isn't thankful for your questions, is the question. Yes, Duralta. Okay, thank you, Christoph, for checking me on this. McMurdo Station in Antarctica. I didn't think about it not being real. So that was a place setting in Stargate. Okay, there you go. That's like all the times you'd have a movie like War Games talking about NORAD and the Colorado Springs, under what's the mountain? Oh, Lookout Mountain, is it? So my O'Neill is Kurt Russell instead of Richard Dean Anderson. Duralta, I don't have an O'Neill. Whatever you give me, I'm happy to take as my O'Neill. Thank you, Melanie. Yay. I may use some of these as testimonials. Open house is very special. Good info. Absolutely. I always try to make sure we have the top, a great special guest again. Now, come on, analysis. There's no such thing as a stupid question, much less a stupid Star Trek question. Where do I can go to talk to people about some representation in Star Trek more? What kind of, you mean just in general or specific gender, sexuality, one of the alien cultures? What do you mean? Because there's all kinds of podcasts and pages and groups out there that would cater if you want to really go looking. And I bet somebody in the chat here has already probably told you, since I'm catching up. Not a stupid question at all, though. What do you mean? What do you mean? Duralta question for Thanksgiving. Okay. How many fillings does one normally have for the turkey? And is the turkey given in extra bowls or is it embedded in the turkey? How many? You mean stuffing? Well, see, so some people put it in the turkey and bake it there, and then they scoop it out and they serve it. Some people just do a baked dressing or stuffing recipe. I know it's to me, it's like icing and frosting. Some of it's regional and some of it's where you came. Like, to me, you ice a cake and if you're a kid, you stick your finger in and you lick the icing off the beaters. Frosting always sounded like some elitist, I don't know, upper crust New York word or something. And stuffing and dressing, we said turkey and dressing. It was turkey and dressing. And I'm going to go ice the cake, and you want some icing. And can I have a lick of that icing? And can I lick the icing off the beaters? I mean, it's, but turkey and dressing to me, the way I grew up it was turkey and dressing. And stuffing was you actually put it in the stuffing. I mean, you stuffed the turkey with it. That was it. And somebody may have originally meant that the stuffing was in the bird, cooked that way, and the dressing was dressing the side of the table. It was dressing on the side. So, yeah. But people do different things all over the place. Sometimes they bake the dressing / stuffing totally as a separate side dish. Absolutely, Dan. You are thankful for the laws of physics, and you cannot change them. And the science experts contributed their knowledge to the writing and production of Trek. Absolutely, absolutely. Going all the way back to Harvey Lynn, the Rand Corporation. Right. And Jesko von Puttkamer, who came up with the modern theory of how warp and Star Trek work, and matter, antimatter, and subspace bubbles. The subspace bubble concept, I think, is the thing that finally got me. Before, it was just like, oh, the ship is going fast because of the lithium and antimatter. It's like, well, here's what it actually meant. Is it put in extra bowls, or, again, it's depending on the individual person. And sometimes you might stuff the bird, but if you've got a ton of people, you're going to want more than what's going to even be in the cavity of the turkey. So you make some on the side anyway. And you do it both ways, depending on how big your mob is. When I was a kid, at both of my grandparents with entire families there, yeah, that was probably plus there, when it's a big family thing, everybody's bringing their stuff. So I would have different aunts, aunts and uncles' families, and they're bringing, well, this is my sage stuffing. Well, this is my oyster stuffing. Well, oyster was very hoity-toity in the Midwest. Who would have oyster stuffing if you didn't live along the coast? But there you go. Well, when I say the beginning of Prodigy is very Star Warsy, just the way the technology looks and the idea that we've got child, slave, miners digging, it's like, why is this not more technological? There's so many questions at the beginning. It's like, why does this guy have kids mining in mines, digging stuff out with their almost bare hands? Because if he gave them drills, that would be arming them. And why are there like so many species of kid slave miners? Like, what is going on here? And it's like, that's just so dystopian. It's got to be some wacky Star Wars planet. It doesn't, but it's the way it's drawn and the attitude and just the technology level and the way the tech looks and the way they all maneuver and just move in that universe. And that's, I think it was done intentionally because that's the kind of the world that kids who are consuming sci-fi, they're used to way more Star Wars. They're not used to seeing that. The whole point is they don't watch Star Trek. So this is the biggest other franchise they see. Now, there's no sign that says, please, Star Wars, do not, please, ABC, Disney, do not sue us. We have no intention of looking like Star Wars. I mean, there's no disclaimer. It's just that vibe you get. And the whole time I'm going, what's this one feel? And of course, it's like slave kids mining a planet from a dystopian, dictatorial madman. Of course, it's not Star Trek. But then by the end, when Hollow Janeway pops up and starts giving her Federation 101 ethics, morals, and history lesson, you're like, okay, accoutrograms. I see interfaces. I see warp drive and impulse engines, and I see transporters, and I see yada yada. Okay, now it's feeling like Star Trek. But morally as well as technically. But the technical in your eye candy was just like, oh my God. Well, Christoph, we hope so. We hope so. Because it's not about the laws of physics. It's who's doing the archiving, recording, and communicating. I know Mr. Galileo and Mr. Copernicus and Dr. Gagan of the Voth would all like to have a word with you about what a protection that is, about bending. JR, yeah, the longer you were here, JRR, the more I was remembering that you had been with us. So welcome back. I'm glad you made it. All the way from Cajun land. Did I make too much of an assumption there? Sean. Adu de Clea. What's funny to me is that they went with that Adu de Clea. That's like soft Southern. And Mark Twain's from Missouri. See, I said Missouri, not Missouri. Mark Twain's from Missouri, and the idea that whole Adu de Clea is so, what are they? The Southern Bells is so genteel. Because you have to, when you say Adu de Clea, you have to have a fan and look like Scarlet or something. Adu de Clea Scarlet. But hey, that's where Lower Decks went with their twaining, and it's funny. And now the whole Star Trek fan base thinks that Adu de Clea is a Mark Twainism, Samuel Clemens. I don't think so. But it's funny. It's funny. You know what? They never actually said beam me up Scotty either. Or play it again, Sam. I wouldn't mind dressing up as Twain and being a riverboat simulation. Let's see. Oh, yes. Yes, indeed, Daralta. He still writes Sherlock Holmes. Where can you buy them? Are they on Amazon? Oh, yes. I think he said the one coming out is his 6th. Sherlock Holmes and the Ticket to Hell. I let him plug it right at the end. And it's coming out in the next month or two. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. He'd became a Sherlock Holmes fan at 11, he said. I stumbled into that little factoid as we started. We're all learning about streaming, just how Blockbuster learned. Yeah. Well, we're not going to go broke over it, hopefully. Well, I don't know. Some people may feel like they're going broke over it. This is me, Jay-Z. I hear that as each season has gotten better and more Star Trek-ish, and I say that, I mean just grounded. Aside from all the other issues with the first couple of years of Discovery, it's always just felt oozy. And it never hit me until I was trying to glean factoids from it for stellar cartography. And it was like, wait, I couldn't tell like how far away things were from each other. it was like 1 minute they're doing something, and the next minute they're here, and there's never any like we're actually living in the world. And if nothing else, jumping to the future has felt a little more grounded all the way along. Maybe part of that's been the upswing in usage of our stellar cartography database. Thank you, Tim Peel, and everybody who's been hanging in there trying to make them understand that the universe, the visual, graphic, and visual universe of Discovery, Star Trek, is just as important as the ethical, moral character, emo world of Discovery. Because without one, you just feel like you're oozing from story to story. Even if you enjoy the story, you sit back and you go, now, wait, what? There is more to Star Trek than emo alone. Ooh, quote me on that one. What now? Concerning Prodigy, very likable. One joke, the fart joke, was one that you weren't fond of, but the rest is. I'd forgotten they even had that. Yeah. Yeah. Even though you're more hyped about new seasons of Prodigy, SNW, and LD. Yeah, I know. I would love for Discovery to go out on a bang, to go out on a high. And I, too, have heard good things about this season, and that it's not repeating the same old character season structure as the last two, trying to get their arms around how to do a serialized season, without falling into the traps. Yeah, Jay-Z, exactly. Thankful for this era of Trek. It certainly has been around at the most tumultuous time since the 60s. Amen. Probably more so, we all need something to fall back on to keep us sane. Absolutely. I remember thinking in the 90s how Star Trek was popular, but it wasn't the same as the 60s because we didn't feel the existential need for it for our survival and sanity. Because things were so cushy in the .com era, and things were booming, and people weren't looking at Star Trek as a desperation sanity device. They were just like having fun with it. And I remember thinking, I wonder if times will ever get so, 60s like that people will look to Star Trek for their hope for the future fix. And I'd love to not have ever thought that. I would love to have been proven wrong. But unfortunately, we got the last 5-10 years. And we've got Star Trek here to help us, which was very strange that the timing happened the way it did. They announced some new show return of Trek. Title to be announced. Showrunner, format, all to be announced, to be determined. We're like 8 years into that. It was this time of year, November, right before or right after Thanksgiving, November 2015. And Portal 47 was only about 3-4 months into being a backward looking, let's keep Trek alive and the creator stories alive, when all of a sudden the idea of having fresh Trek again was amazing after 12 years. But we took it. Boy, did we take it. Rough patch is putting it mildly. Sorry if I did not mean to sugarcoat anything or play anything down. Jay-Z, you are welcome. You are thankful for this era of Trek. Certainly has been around the most tumultuous time since this is what I just said. Absolutely. Yes. Concerning the recasting of Trek actors, it is sci-fi. Transport accent is one option. The face-off solution of swap bodies is another. Well, that's one thing that unless it's just in the moment, like the two Darrens, we're good. We're good. We're good. Yeah, that's one thing I say. Who's got it easy that way? Of all their problems they've ever had, that's not been one of them. And they are unique that way. Well, I don't know if we want to shoot everybody in the face just when we recast. So I'm glad it worked for Knight Rider. Well, there you go, analysis. Yes, they do. Which, again, is kind of the DNA of Star Trek. It's like what made it popular in the first place. I was just having a discussion with somebody on some YouTube thread, I think, and they were a little bit mocking of. They'd found a quote from a fan in 1979 who was hoping that the movie era would not change a lot of canon just because they now had more money to spend. Sound familiar? And these two Latter-day fans were talking about the fans who get all, and he said the initial commenter from 79 said, I know it's not the real universe, but we want to believe it's that way. And I know what he means, because if it's not, then what's the point of following? You could just go watch any story. I'm not saying you don't agree with just the purely ethos and the hopefulness and all that, but you can get hopefulness. You can get diversity and hopefulness anywhere. What makes it this unified thing that's a magnet for all these different people with a, And I very gently got in and said, like, why are we having to choose? And I just want to remind people, it's like, that's a reason some of us are fans because of that world building and that background. And we didn't have all these buzz terms in the 70s or 80s. You just liked it because you liked it. And then I read Interstat and realized that I didn't like Star Trek just because I wanted to talk about Spock and Ponfar and Vulcans and logic versus reason. I didn't want to do that 24/7. I appreciated it. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed 18 other things too. So, yeah. But nobody, you know what? Nobody, I was just ignored. But nobody looked at me and said, I'm sorry, this is only a letter of comment zine for the Spock lovers only. You take your talk of the other cultures and the Star Cattle, you just take that and go somewhere else. We don't want, there was no reverse gatekeeping then. So eventually I figured out who the other 4 people every month were that would actually talk back to me, and we would talk back and forth. Even as we were like 1/10 of the whole content of the letters. It was funny. Like I used to say, I thought me and 8 other people cared about the stuff I cared about. So the good side of social media is I know now there's more than 8 people that love the world building and the canon, the background, the continuity, and concordizing, encyclopediaizing the factoids just for sanity's sake, so we can keep up with those little things. There you go. What is the 30th? I always think DS9 is from 92, but that's when they started. It's like Voyager. They started filming in 94 when we moved, but they debuted in 95. I'm thrown off a year because the filming of they weren't a fall debut, and it bleeds over just barely into the new year, rather than filming in the spring and debuting in the fall. Hey, John, that's very nice of you, man. Thankful for the Trek Files and podcasts. And other podcasts, you mean? Okay. Well, here. And amen, Melanie. Ukraine, Gaza, just stop already. Yeah. Zahir. Why is Star Trek not required viewing for anyone in federal political office? I don't know. Do I have the power to make that happen? I don't know. If you start force feeding Star Trek to people, you may wind up with exactly the people that are clueless and don't get the basic subtextual lesson. Yes, we did finally get the refitted NX-01 cannon in Picard, and Doug's little heart was just a pitter pat. Of course, he was involved with the art team there for that. Okay, let me see. Well, this is the thing, Sean. I think you might. It would certainly make it easier. I mean, I wonder about the cost of research, new planning, new literal blueprinting, and then swinging a hammer to build physical sets. And then what's the layer of detail that's going to, are they going to be 60s? Or are they going to have all kinds of modern gee whiz bang stuff added? And what era are we recreating? Because the 60s is a hell of a lot easier to do than, 90s sets. So what is the cost of standard set construction research and construction versus the cost of doing the digital program for an AR wall, the same thing. If the cost is about the same, I don't know. And maybe maybe it's just easier then because you're not putting physical lumber that has to be scrapped and take up space. And you can change out an AR set, soon, quick, much faster than you would build and then strike a physical set. Have they announced January's Discovery's comeback month? John, did I miss that? Which could have happened. I'm not saying. Okay. This was amazing. I'm still sad that it's been 4 or 5 years since I last saw Greg after knowing it. Again, you take people for granted, like Dorothy. I shouldn't just say that so blithely. When you are lucky and privileged enough to have known these people personally and then got to see them more than occasionally, and especially when you get to consult with them or interview them or have them, whatever, at times, it's still a little weird to me that he was gone. And always hearing about this insane, I feel good that so many people knew of all of his stuff crammed in, storage places, but never saw it all. I don't feel quite so left out. I don't know. The special people, the people that knew him 30 years ago that saw it and when it wasn't so crammed. But yeah. But the fact that it was cataloged and all in one place for at least a time, that could have been 2 museums worth of material, It's what's funny is watching people be in shock. Well, how did he get that? Did he just steal it? It's like shit gets thrown away. I was lucky enough to be on the lot when the DS9 art department and when what thread and the Enterprise art, the TNG to Voyager Enterprise, the TNG to Voyager art department shut down, and then the DS9 weirdly Enterprise art department shut down and cleaned out. And here, Larry, can you help us carry this to the old thing? The studios are way better than they were about trashing it so collectors wouldn't get pieces. That was just such a weird attitude. Let's go smash all these glass matte paintings, these Albert Whitlock matte paintings. We're cleaning this out. Just throw them away. Don't let anybody take them home. Okay, then what about sell them? Give them money to a charity if you want to do that. Not a concept. Not a concept. Oh, this is true. BBC did not keep there's plenty of original material that Paramount threw away, especially from the original series. Thank God we circle back around with digital restoration. And there you go. We had to find things in trash cans. Hey, Marina, there's no such thing as being very late. I just hope your health is back, girl. Absolutely. How do you have a kids show and you don't have it pre-sold with tons of I know it's not like it's up to Netflix or Nickelodeon and Paramount. They're thrilled. You've got to get the toy makers convinced that it's going to sell enough to be worthwhile an investment. And the fact that they knocked off the Hollow Janeway and the Rock Talk action figures, I just hope that line survives long enough for the Netflix showings to kick in and maybe spike that a little bit. Analysis. Yes, you should feel guilty. No, I'm kidding. You don't feel guilty. Everybody is where they are. Everybody is where they are. Let's see. Oh, well, David, my pleasure. And did you put the link for your rebuilt group up here? I think I joined on the side already. I remember this happening somewhere. Oh, okay. Duh. Yes. I'm so sorry, man. It's been a long year. I was thrilled to be. I was at all the early Sci-Fi cons and Bayou Con when they were competing. Yes, it's been 5 or 6, 7 years since I was in Lake Charles. So I am so sorry. Absolutely, I should have known Louisiana. Yeah, it was great to be back. I love Lake Charles. It's just why some cities are the way they are, and then their fandom and con, they become a capital or a hub, and other places don't, is amazing to me. But it was good to be back and to see everything. Let's see here. Are we getting down to the end? Yeah. Murphandice. Well, we spell it with Cadet Allison and I spell it with an F, Christoph, but sure. Maybe, I hope not. Moopsie ate all the Murphandice. Yeah, it was a huge event. I was going to say, was it not bigger than I guess the Christie's would have to be bigger for the warehouses of years, decades of Paramount stuff. David, I saw your repost. So I saw the first one. Good. Well, hey, Melanie, was that Modesto, the first one? I guess it was Modesto. That's been what, that was 50th? Ohanacon. That sounds like it's an anime specific. Well, if they want to, it's only a 1 day. If they want to have me come, can put me up for a couple of nights, sure. Just take up the $5 and the $99. Absolutely. Oh no, Marina. Well, I will be thankful that you are on the mend. Good Lord, lady. We can't have you down this long. Okay, JR, let's see your little semantics lesson here. Back in the day, you used to say TNG was a semi-contingent series. It had its episodes and arcs that you had to see develop over the non-related episodes, like Troy's promotion or O'Brien starting a family. How about O'Brien getting a name? First a last name, then a first name, and oh my God, eventually he got a third name, a middle name. But yeah, okay. Semi-contingent series. Well, I'm semi-contingent on it happening. How very egalitarian of you, Don. You neither despise nor trust. We can neither confirm or deny that you neither despise nor trust Alex Kurtzman or J.J. Abrams, nor have anything against those who do despise them nor trust. Well, there you go. Had a great 5G signal. Cleared in 10 days, but had the cough until this week. See those latent effects. Yeah. Upcoming as in next year, I come when they invite me. They keep inviting me. I don't know if Janet and Alice will be there with me, but I should be back unless there's a major change of heart or shortage of funds or something. But they kind of make it an annual thing, but I never assume. I always wait to see. So hopefully, yes. Neurodivergent. Vulcans have like Asperger's syndrome. Oh, that's so human-centric of you, Melody. Okay. Thanks for confirming I'm Vulcan. But what color do you bleed when you bleed? New Orion episodes would be great. Well, Doralta, I seem to see where Lower Decks is going. We're at least going to have one more huge Orion episode when Tendi comes back, or we check up on Tendi. So that's kind of in the cards, at least. Really? Asperger's is no longer in the DSM? Really? Okay. You can tell who's not having to research the DSM these last 10, 20 years. Interesting, Christoph. Are the bad box office numbers for the Marvels, which might be for satisfaction, oversaturation, or fan misogyny, or both? See, I can't believe. I just don't understand how an all-female led movie, like, aren't there still plenty of male hormones out there? Isn't there testosterone that wants to go see women in tight suits? And I'm not trying to be sexist here. I'm just trying to understand basic human nature versus economics. And is any of that good or bad for Orville? Discuss. That might be a future topic, though. Stargate Command was at Cheyenne Mountain. Cheyenne Mountain. That's what I meant to say, not Lookout Mountain. Lookout Mountain is where Lookout Mountain is at Colorado Springs, where Buffalo Bill is buried. Okay, I think. Yes. Would you like to play a game? Turducken. I'm getting you hungry. How do you think I feel? Okay. Thank you there for that catch-up analysis. So you're in Ohio, or you were in Ohio? Yeah. Yeah, frosting was just a highfalutin Eastern term. Icing was what? But I always wondered, like, why? How did they emerge differently that way? Yeah. Very true. And I watched him on Jon Stewart's Daily Show live, and my jaw dropped when he said his famous line, and we had the famous reaction, and I have that meme as an 8-panel. And I remember thinking, I'm sorry, aren't you supposed to be here to promote your movie? Did you not know that there was a camera running when you said that? Much less that it was live in front of an audience. Oh, and to see John's John react the same way. I'm sorry. It was just amazing. Such an amazing, unaware moment. Amazing, unaware moment. Well, here's what I'll say about this, Duralta. The cute kitten, the Cation, that is, I had it confirmed. Aaron told me that was a Cation. And we've seen species diversity in Cations. In fact, I was just talking with the showrunner about Cation species diversity, how Tana doesn't look like Maress. That's not the end of the story. Who says that we're never going to see her again? I have a feeling we will. That's not coming from anybody. That's my gut feeling. But I do know that was a Cation. I did have that confirmed. I think we're at the end of the chat, gang. Here it is. Here it is at the end, and good thing. I'm so glad to have a good day. It feels like everybody's in a good mood, even though I know, what, Marina, you're still getting over yours. I hope everybody has good health, though. It's been great to talk to everybody. Today's just an interesting. I got a lot of things accomplished in the last couple of weeks. We're actually way ahead on Trek Files, and people came to the open house and enjoyed it, and Nick was great, and we had lots of people join Portal because of the open house, which was the whole idea in the first place. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks, I feel like I've actually taken a breath a little bit. But we're staring down 2024, wondering what's going to happen there. And I'll have many more weeks of not obvious topics to talk about today. But I don't want any disasters. We don't need anything horrendous. Hopefully we'll have a good holiday here. The world can maybe start to figure itself out and get back on some kind of a healthy track. But then I guess that's the eternal question, isn't it? Yeah. But yes, I am thankful, and I am thankful for all of those things, and I'm thankful for you all joining us here. Whatever level of Trekdom and fandom you want, whether we see you live at Vegas or at San Diego or back home at SoonerCon or some other trending convention, including this weekend again at Starbase Indy, IndyCon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's an early plane trip the day after Thanksgiving. To go east, it's always an early plane trip. But it's worth it to get back and get with another cycle of live fans for the first time in a few months since August. It's amazing. Thankful for that. Thankful for everything everybody does joining us here on Tuesdays. If you enjoy Cadet Alice and if you enjoy Second Opinion, please don't forget to go over and like and subscribe on YouTube, whether you're there right now or not. That would be great. And again, it's been a quiet year for Trekland Treks. So I've got some folks coming in. Hey, I'll do that. It's been a quiet year for Trekland Treks. So no competition, everybody. Come on over. I'd love to set something up with you. You pick the places. I'll work it with you. TreklandTreks.com, your own customized away mission to the real life Star Trek location sites around greater LA. It's a thing. Once again, thanks to all of our Patreons and the TTLers. And if you would like to do that, it's just $5 or $10 a month right now. Patreon.com/TreklandLive. Thanks for all your support there. Again, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for all of our Trekophiles spelled with an F. And yes, we've got new episode up now. We have some wonderful ones coming your way. Do I say this or not? We are bearing down on our 250th Trek Files episode. We don't number them that way, so you have to kind of go, you have to actually count them, but there you go. It's going to be a great season ahead of that, and we are leaning into the 50th anniversary of the animated series as kind of a theme for a lot of the episodes. Not all, but a lot of them. So most of all, yeah, guys, gals, peeps, I'm Larry Nemechek on Twitter/X. We'll see what else emerges. Larry's Trekland here on Facebook, if you're watching. Most of all on YouTube, but Instagram's a lot of fun. We do a lot of fun stuff there too as well. And portal47.net. Check it out if you would. It's like a mini-con all year long. No more after-con blues because it is like a mini-con all year long. And it's for all the fans, the Trek fans who had no idea how much Trek they had no idea about. All right, that's going to do it for today. I look forward to whoever I see this weekend. It's going to be awesome. It's Starbase Indy. But apart from that, look for a Cadet Alice coming soon. And most of all, look for, if you're curious about jumping in the portal, look for our Cyber Monday special that's coming up. And then we'll turn that around and have a gift special this holiday season, as I've done every year for the last 8 years. 8 years of Portal. It's amazing. You know how many guests that's been? I mean, this is like a drop in the bucket here. That's maybe one month a year goes away. So 8 times 12, that's 96. We have nearly 100 backstage creatives. Some of them very famous and some of them not at all, but they all have great insights to share. And that's the heart of what I do. Aside from that whole catalog the data and get it recorded before it gets away. Gang, please, as we go forward, and I see you next time, live or virtual, do all the things. Would you stay healthy? And check the sources, stay woke, okay? Be safe and, yeah, truck well.